by the third event, we had over 220 people at our event when, a couple months prior, it was just an idea that came from these meditations. On this video, I'm gonna be showing you how I manifested $20,000 in a single month and found my purpose, all by listening to Joe Dispenza's meditations. What's up, guys? My name is Nico Arapkalis, and I'm so glad to have you here on this YouTube channel. Now, this video is actually part of a series. This is part 3. If you have not watched the other parts, that I strongly recommend that you go check them out. Now, I want to give you a brief overview of what I talked about on part 1. It was, I found my dream job, I tripled my income. Part number 2 is I actually talked about how I launched my business and did over $10,000 in that first single month. And now on this video, like I said, I want to talk about how a couple months shortly after that, I did $20,000 in a month and also found my purpose. So again, if you guys have not watched this or you're not a part of the family here, make sure and subscribe, because we are on a mission to generating over 20,000 subscribers in the next 90 days, because we're doing a 90-day push, making 90 videos of true, real value about manifestation, law of attraction, and how to truly step into that highest version of yourself that's all backed by neuroscience and energetics. So again, my name is Nico Arapkalis. Let's dive into this. So I want to give a brief overview of what I talked about in the previous ones, and then again, I want to dive more into how I created and manifested a $20,000 a month. And I was able to really step into what I truly believe was my purpose and have a lot of passion and conviction behind what I'm doing now, which is probably one of the most fulfilling things that I've experienced in my life. So as I talked about in previous videos, where all this manifestation and meditation and Joe Dispenza stuff started was actually at one of my lowest points, right? I had just gone through a really tough breakup, and it was really the first one that I've experienced, and it really hit hard, right? And then from that, my business really started crumbling. I was doing a lot of different affiliate marketing, and that was what allowed me and supported me for so long and allowed me to live a laptop lifestyle. And then all of a sudden that came crumbling down, which I don't know if you can relate to that, but when you have something that's going well and then it starts crumbling, it's worse than never even having it, right? And so all that, but the one thing that was going well was the gym. Like, I was putting on some size, I was feeling good in my body, and then one day in particular, I pushed it a little bit further. I was doing some bench press, and all of a sudden, my pectoral tendon ripped right off the bone, and then the weights fell right back on my chest, right? And then a couple of days later, I had surgery. I didn't have health insurance, so I'm paying everything out of pocket, and I just feel like my life is in shambles, because now I'm actually living with my parents, sleeping on a recliner in a sling. Right? And so it was a really tough time, but it also gave me the space to start focusing on this stuff and going through this book and going through the meditations. Now, somebody was asking me, he sent me a message on Instagram and was asking me like, what meditations were my life, helped me with my life purpose. And that's what I wanted to discuss here on this video. And so that was kind of like the beginning stages of it. But then from there, what I did is I actually, through these meditations, and I'll talk more about them here in a second, but through these meditations, I found out and I found my vision. I got clear on my vision. I wanted to be the best YouTube advertiser and start an agency, which I had never done before. But I just got the idea and I ran with it. And this really gave me the conviction and the confidence to go out there and actually do it. And so I just kept moving along, kept doing the meditations, kept staying focused and centered and doing the meditations. And then all of a sudden, something just random kind of came into my life where a friend, I ran into him just out of happenstance at a restaurant, and he's like, hey man, I'd love to talk to you about YouTube ads. It was like totally random out of nowhere. He ended up signing with me, and he was considering all these different other agencies that were so much more well equipped for than me. I mean, I was literally just starting out. He picked me, and then he referred a bunch of clients, like dream clients that are paying in full on the call, $6,000, you name it, like kept on paying me, and just it was amazing. And then I had my first $10,000 a month, and that was really exciting, right? And then from there, that's when I landed my dream job, right? I was working with this agency. We started working with some of the biggest brands in the world, some of my mentors, and people I'd looked up to for a long time. Got to start running their ads. We were running millions of dollars worth of advertising, and it was amazing. But then what I realized as I continued to keep on tapping into these meditations, I started realizing what was important to me. And in fact, I continued to do these meditations, and what happened is I also, a couple years later, I went through another challenging experience where I finally went to an emotional intelligence workshop. I acknowledged some trauma that I had held on for literally decades. And then I also realized that I was in a relationship that was not at my highest good. So I decided to end that. And all of this kind of came crashing down on me. And I also realized through these meditations that even though I was working with this agency and it was great, I really didn't feel like I was living in my purpose. And so all this kind of came crashing on me. And so it's interesting because I do these meditations and they're great and all, but they lead you to your purpose, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily happen the way you want it, or it doesn't necessarily even feel great. And so what I did is I actually went to Utah by myself for a week because I just truly wanted to meditate and I wanted to dive into this even deeper. And so I went out to Utah. I just sat out in nature for literally a week and journaled and got my thoughts out and just got very present. And what I realized is that I really wanted to step into something else. And something came to me while I was on top of a mountain in Zion Mountain, or Zion National Park, Angel's Landing. And I realized that I wanted to start a podcast because I realized that I love connecting with people. I love to have conversations. I love building relationships. And I realized this after really discovering what my values were. And once I understood what my values were experience, whereas communication was relationships, I realized I wanted to start a podcast. And so what I did is I did start a podcast, right? And it was that next week we started a podcast. I actually did it live in front of a live audience. So we invited a bunch of people, about 70 people showed up. And even though it was still kind of a challenging time of my life, it was one of the best nights of my life because I got to speak. And that's something I've always wanted to do. And I was like, damn, I found my purpose. And I was doing podcasts in front of people. People kept asking when the next one was. And by the third event, we had over 220 people at our event when, a couple months prior, it was just an idea that came from these meditations on top of a mountain. And then from there, I was really starting to dive in because then I was like, okay, well, this is my purpose, but how do I actually monetize this? Because I really love this. And it's I was still working this advertising. I was working with this agency and I was like, it's cool, but it's not my purpose. So I kept on thinking and I thought of an idea where I could basically create these audios for people that it's their future self telling them how amazing they are, and it's all based on their vision, right? So I created one for myself, and then that's where the story comes in, where I made my first $10,000. And the way I did that was because I actually launched it at my podcast event and said, hey, I make these for people now. And I just showed them mine and everyone was like, we want one. I asked who wants one. And then at that time, it was a coaching program as well. And that's why I got 10 high paying clients. And then that's when I made the $10,000. And that was part of part two. But the thing that I want to continue to share on this video is that I really started diving into that. And then what happened is that I was putting so much intention into this. And I was so excited about this is that I actually got fired from my advertising job. And then I got a severance package for right around 10K. And then combining that with my 10K month, I got 20K and I'm stepping more into my life purpose. Now, here's the interesting part about that entire story. Getting fired, is actually right before I launched the business. It actually forced me into that. And so I didn't realize I was getting that severance package until later. So I was literally freaking out, but then I just, dove in. I said, now's the time. There's no other option. And so that's when I launched this offer. It's known as Vision Espresso. We offer it inside of our Skool Community to all our members, and people absolutely love it. We've had hundreds of people that have come through now, and it's really helping people really create the life that they truly desire and really manifest what they desire. Next week, we're actually doing an interview with one of our first clients that's now living in his multi-million-dollar home. We're going to do an interview with him inside of his multi-million-dollar home. We've got people that have manifested their dream penthouse apartments. We got clients that are doing 100K months, 200K months. It's remarkable what some of these people are doing. And that's what when I started seeing these testimonials really rolling in, it made me realize that I truly did find my life's purpose. And yes, having that 20K month was amazing. And being able to really step into what I'm meant to do is absolutely amazing. And I don't think it would have been possible without these Joe Dispenza meditations, because this is actually where it all started. And I would come back to these anytime. Now, again, throughout my story, I said that it didn't come exactly the way I thought it would. And it came in a lot more turbulent ways, but it all started with this. So now what I want to do is I want to discuss the meditations that I really love and why I really love them and why they help me so much. Because again, like I said, a gentleman reached out to me and he was asking me what was the meditations that actually helped me find my life's purpose. And so one of my favorite ones that he talks about in this book is the blessing of the energy centers. So as I shared on another video, actually, it was a book review of the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. One of my favorite books. Definitely strongly recommend that you check that out. I'd check out that video for sure. The link will be down in the description because it's a powerful book. But what I talked about in there is that there's a law known as the law of intention and desire. And so basically the premise of that is that where attention goes, energy flows. And I back this all up always by a lot of quantum science, a lot of neuroscience, because once I started understanding the science behind all this stuff, that's when things really started solidifying for me. And so they actually did a test, and Einstein was the one that did this test, and he found this to be very, what he called spooky. So they did a double split test. So basically there was a wall that had 2 doors on it, and what they did is they shot a quantum particle at the wall. And then what they realized what happened is actually the particle, it actually went through both doors simultaneously. It went through both doors at the same exact time. And they're like, how did that happen? Well, first of all, that just to help them discover that the particle is not matter, it's actually a wave, right? And I'll explain why that's really important to know about the blessing of the energy centers meditation and what I learned from this book. But what happened from there is that they did another test where they had a guy that was focused on door number 1. They shot the particle again. The particle went through only door number 1. Okay, so it didn't go through both, it just went through 1. Now they switched the guy to the left, the second door number 2. They shot the particle same way. It goes through door number 2. Right? They remove the guy. They do it again. The particle goes through both doors. So again, one, they found out that the particle is not matter, it's a wave. And a wave can transmute in any and every direction. But what happens from there and what they understood is that where attention goes, energy flows. Where attention goes, energy flows. So whatever you are focused on, that is where your energy is going. That's where your intention is going. That's where the energy goes, right? And so why I'm telling you all of that is because that's why I love the blessing of the energy centers, because with the blessing of the energy centers meditations that he puts in these books, and then all the other places that he hosts them, is because you're focused on the waves around you, you're focused on the energy around you, you're not focused on the matter. And when you can be more focused on the energy around you, you are changing your energy and therefore changing your life, as he always says. Change your energy, change your life. If you're at a low frequency and you don't even know it, that's why I always say, we always talk to our clients, whether that's Vision Espresso or our accelerator clients, we always talk about it's always about raising your frequency. How can you raise your frequency? Find the things that raise your frequency, and the blessing of the energy centers is one of my favorite ways to raise my frequency. I have a lot of different ways on how we do it and how I like to raise my frequency and how to actually measure my frequency. And that's what we do a lot inside of our program and inside of our Skool community. But that's why it's so important. Right? And when you're focused on your energy and you're focused on, because basically with the energy centered meditations, you're focused on like the energy around your neck and then around your shoulders and then around your pecs, around your stomach. And it's just not, you're not focused on the matter, because when you're focused on the matter, that's when the wave collapses. But when you focus on the energy, that's when the energy continues to flow, and that's when you can tap into the quantum. That's when you can tap into the wisdom of the unknown. And just think about how big God is, how big the universe is, and how if we're focused on matter, that's such a minute, small piece of this entire existence. But when we focus on the energy, that's when we can tap into the unknown, and there's the energy of the unknown is remarkable. So the more that we tap into that, the more we can say, like, what's possible? Things that I never thought was remotely possible. When I got fired from that job and luckily got that severance package and launched my business and had a $20K month, I never would have thought that was possible. I was just concerned. I was like, dang, I just lost my rent money, right? And then all of a sudden something bigger came in. And then I launched my business, and actually, like I said, my first client has now become one of my really close friends, and now he's living in a multi-million-dollar home, And now we have continued to build a relationship and a friendship. And now we're going to be doing a podcast interview with him about how he's built out this amazing success and manifested all these amazing things into his life because of the fact that he tapped into, his energy, right? And I never would have thought that was possible because before I was focused on the matter more. My humanness was focused on the matter. I was focused on how do I pay rent? And now it transformed into something so much bigger because I stepped in more into the unknown. And that's just scratching the surface. Like, what else is possible? I mean, we talk about on this video, yes, that's cool, like making $20,000 in a month, but like, what else is possible? Like, me back then was just trying to pay rent, but like now it's like, how do I continue to focus on the energy, focus on the unknown? Because $20K a month is just like minute to compare to what's possible. Like, we really have a vision for building our company into a multi-million-dollar, $100 million, even $1 billion company because of how it's impacting people and how it's helping people so much. So I make this video to inspire you to focus on the unknown, to tap into the unknown and just trust and surrender from an energetic level too. And then again, that's what we do inside of our Skool community. We have a bunch of different audios that we help you clear out energetically so that you're not focused on the matter, right? You focus on the waves. Focused on the waves. So that's the gist of this video. I trust that all resonated with you. I strongly recommend that you go back over this video a couple times, because if you're just hearing this stuff, this can be a lot. It can be a lot. I knew when I first heard this, it didn't all resonate with me at first, but that's after I read this, 5, 6, 7 times and listened to the audio book at the same time I was reading the physical book, that's when it really started seeping deeper and deeper. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but on Spotify, they have most books out there. You can listen to audiobooks if you have a premium account, which I know most people do. So that's just a little hack that I really like. So that's the gist of this video, guys. I trust that you got a lot of information out of that. Let me know what was your favorite piece of this video. And if you guys want me to continue making these type of videos talking about how powerful the Joe Dispenza meditations are, I'd be happy to do that. But again, I strongly recommend that you go check out part number 1, part number 2. Check out the review I did on the 7 spiritual laws of success. All those links will be down in the video description. And then again, make sure and follow me on Instagram. Follow our journey here. We're on a mission to getting 20,000 magnetic manifestors here on this YouTube channel, doing a 90-day sprint. So come support us, guys. Be a part of the community. We want you to become a magnetic manifester. So join the Skool community, come into the lives, ask your questions. We're here to serve and we're here to help. So keep going, guys. Keep growing, and we'll talk to you on the next video.